And again, don't worry about following me, right? Just worry about seeing the concept, right? I want you guys to think of the logic behind this, right? What we're actually doing and how actually everything that you've been doing so far, it actually can be simplified and enhanced digitally. Okay, so this is what we're going after. So again, if you look at my screen, I have opened up the document, right, that corresponds to, let's say in this case, my project, right, which would be the Lovell Hell House, which I think no one is doing, right, from the list. But I have opened up right here on Rhino. Okay. Now, what's neat about it is that I actually use this scale right here, which is what we're going to cover today. And I use this scale right here to actually send it to the 1-to-1 scale, meaning that actually this floor plan right now is as big as the house is in real life. But of course, we're in the digital world, so it can be as big as possible, as well, as big as it needs to be, right? This space right here in Rhino is infinitely big, right? So again, that's how I can actually be, and I already got lost, where am I, right? Right, this can be to the 1-to-1, right? So actually, if I type right now, right, and I'll cover, this is what I'm about to cover right now, I actually can know, right, that this building, it's approximately, about 97 feet, by, let's say now, 55, 56 feet, right? Those are its overall dimensions, right? In real life, right? Actually, everything is here real life. Okay. So again, let me take you guys through how to do this. Okay. And again, just patient with me. Don't try to follow, because then you're gonna get lost. Or tried. Let's see. All right, guys. So the first thing that we're gonna use is the PDF right here, the one that you just downloaded. The only thing though is that we don't need the entire PDF, right? We just need your PDF, right? Your project. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do, and again, this is a nice, like I was just getting a question right now by Marifer, how do you rotate a PDF? Well, part of it, you can actually edit the pages right here from this document. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do, because I still want to keep all of them, just for reference. Who knows? Maybe later on you work in any of the other of these houses. So I want to keep the original. So the first thing that I'm going to do is do a file save as, and I'm going to look for the location of this, because I'm actually going to delete all of the pages except for the one that I need. And for right now, I'll just do desktop right now, and I can maybe name it right here, my building. Right, my building. Which actually, I mean, probably would be better if you just label it the name of the building, right? So Lovell HH, right? Lovell Hell House. All right, so I'm gonna save it. Now the only thing that I did is a save as, but it still has all of the pages right here that I don't need. So the first thing that I do is find my project. In this case, I think I'm page 8 and page 9. All right, page 8, page 9. And I'm going to select the rest of the pages, and I can do that rather quickly if I hold down shift, right, and I click the first page that I want to delete, and I click on the last page that I want to delete, select them, holding shift, press delete. This message comes up and I say okay. So I want those two. I select that page right there, I scroll all the way to the bottom, hold shift, click, delete, okay. All right, so that was the first step. I can now hit save again. Right, so I have the Lovell HH PDF. Now the next step is going to be to turn the PDF into JPEGs, which are images, which then we're going to reference into Rhino. So the way that we do that, and again, this is all very, very valuable information for any other class, right? I mean, I think for history, you'll be making models, for intro, for your projects, and even how to manage PDFs, right? So I can do an export, right, of an image out of a PDF. And this is, again, a different format, right? So if I go to File, Export to, right, and I select Image, notice that I have these multiple formats right here. We want the first one, which is JPEG. Okay, So I'll keep the same name, right? Logo HH, and again, make sure that the format is correct, being a JPEG, and I click save. And I'm not sure where I save it. Oh, there it is. It's on my desktop. Okay, and I can close this. Wait, I didn't really cover it, but I wanted to show you how to rotate if you ever need to rotate on PDF. That would be right here on organized pages, if I'm not mistaken. All right, organized pages, this opens up. So notice that you can select the page right there and you have this rotation icons right there. And you can shuffle them around. Not sure how much you can do, but we're at Acrobat Pro. So again, this may not be the same that you have on your laptop because Acrobat is free. There's a free version, but we have the Pro version, which you can do a little bit more of editing. Okay, so anyway, that's how you can rotate, even though we don't need to rotate right now. But I've gotten that question before. All right, so what I got, right, with that export are these drawings right here, these pages as in JPEGs. Okay, so now I'm going to open Rhino and I'll start a file from scratch. Right, so, and again, I'll just give you basic, so again, we're just doing this just to double check our work and to make sure that we're working with the right dimensions. So we're not necessarily going to model this on Rhino. So don't worry if you're not too familiar with the Rhino interface. I'll just show you the basics. So we want to click on the top viewport right there. So I double click on that. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And again, as always, the first things that you want to make sure that you check and that you said when you're working on computer-aided drafting or modeling, it's your units, right? So I type units, enter. So I type units, enter. Okay. Notice that I get this this menu, and again, my first option right here, it says model units. Okay, so that's really important for us, right? Because again, from here on, we're just going to work with the architectural scales, right? So we want to set our units correctly. So if we click down on that drop down menu, let's select feet. Right? Notice that again, there's inches and there's feet as well. And now for distance display, right here is the third, I guess, section. Make sure that you are on feet and inches as well. Now you see how it says that right there, display precision. We're not gonna touch it right now, but this actually has to do a lot with how you've been using the graphical scale to derive measurements from your drawing. And I'll come back to it, but just keep in mind the tolerance that we're working on right now, which is the 1/8, right? That's just how precise things are going to be displayed. And I'll show you guys an example once we bring in our drawings. But for right now, two things. Make sure that you're on modeling units on fit, and distance display is feet and inches. So I'll click OK. Okay, and we want to do this before we throw anything onto the file itself, anything before we start drawing, so that we don't get any messages that you want to scale stuff or you want to do any other stuff. The next part, right, we're going to bring in the photograph, right, the picture into Rhino. Okay, the one that I just saved from the PDF, and the command for that would be picture. As if I type picture. And again, I'm not looking for the PDF. I'm looking for the JPEGs that I created out of the PDF. Yeah? Yep. All right. Because as you see, you cannot import a PDF, right? It's not supported. That's why we're actually converting it, right, from a PDF to a JPEG. And in reality, I only need the page that has drawings. Okay, so here, let me do that one more time slower. So again, I type picture, right? It's a command. Now it's asking me, okay, what picture do you want to insert? I look for the picture. All right, so in my case, it's on the desktop. Okay, so I just select it and I click in open. Notice that it says open right here. Okay, Now notice that my cursor changes. I get those cross arrows right there. Now on the top right here, this is the command line right here. And this is how the software communicates with me. And this is how I communicate with the software. Okay. And yes, the software does communicate with us, right? I mean, there's an action, and that action has a series of steps, right? So right now the software is waiting for me, right? So if I read right there on the command line right there, it says first corner of picture, right? So I have to specify where the first corner of the picture is, and I just do that by clicking, right? So I just click. Notice that as I move my cursor, I can specify the size of this drawing right here. Notice that the command line is again waiting for me. It says other corner or length, right? So I just do another click and it's there. All right, real quick, navigation. Okay, the only navigation that you're gonna need at this point is panning, which you do with your right click. All right, so you right click and drag, you pan. Scroll in or scroll out, you zoom in and out. Okay, later on we'll get into 3D navigation, but for right now, that's the only thing that you need. Pan, right click and drag, zoom in and zoom out, scroll in and out. Okay, guys. So we have the photograph there, right? We have the photograph of the floor plans there. Now, there's this command called distance. If I type distance, enter, notice that again, my cursor changes and my command line is prompting me, right? It says first point for distance. Okay, I am going to pick a room. Let's say maybe a room right here. Okay, room number 3. Okay, and I'm gonna maybe just select a corner or an edge right there, click, and then bring my cursor to this end right there and click. Okay, that was using distance, right? So I clicked and I clicked. Okay, now notice that here in my command line, it says distance, right? It is giving me some numbers, right? So distance equals to 5 feet, 11 inches, and 5/8. So right now it means that from there to there, on this room number 3, which I guess I can come over here, is the laundry room, right? It's about 6 feet. Okay, how much is 6 feet? What's your height? You know, you're a little under 6 feet or a little over 6 feet, right? Or around there. Right? Or some of us a lot less than that, but that's okay. But that's not right. And again, this is where again it's really important that you're familiar with the project, right? And is that right? I mean, is it true that that's 6 feet? And by now you've already pulled some distances. You're like, that's not true. That's not right. But how can we actually get this drawing to reflect the true dimensions of this? Well, for that, guys, that's where this is so important for us. Right? Again, drawings that have this scale right here are, in our case, you know, in the scale of helpful, right? I mean, much more helpful than drawings that do not, right? And why? Well, because this drawing is telling you again, it's like, hey, whatever you end up measuring anywhere, just know that from there to there should be 15 feet, and from there to there should be 30 feet. So I can use that to check, right? So if I type again distance, enter, right, and I measure, right, this graphical scale from there to, let's say, over here, I get 16 feet and 3 inches and 7/8. So is that right? No, right? Because if I measure from 0 to this mark right there, how much should it be? 30 feet, right? It's telling me right there that that should be 30 feet. Right? So it's not right. So let's make it right. Okay. Additionally, notice that, no, I'll talk about it right now. So here we go. Now, what do I need to do to this drawing? Scale it, right? I need to scale the drawing with the scale. Right? So again, we need to scale the drawing using the scale that is provided for us right here. All right, that is very simple. That is very easy. Okay, so what we're doing right now is called scaling by a reference. There's, broadly speaking, two ways that you can scale something digital. You can scale it with a factor, right? Give me a scale factor. 2, right? What would 2 do? Scale everything 2 times as big, right? It measures 6, it will now measure 12, right? It could be a factor of 3, right? It's going to multiply everything by 3. So that's the first one, right? Scaling by a factor. Now, I don't, do I have that right here? Well, let's see, right? I mean, again, I have a distance and I measure from there to there, right? So it's actually 16. I need it to be 30. So I'm going to start doing math, right? So if I start crunching numbers, so 16 times X number equals 30 feet, right? And I can get a scale, factor, but is it going to be accurate? Not really, right? Because I still am missing like a few inches right there, right? So again, you could say, well, scale it times 2. Well, again, that's going to be a little bit over, right? Because it's going to be 32 inches. So what we're going to do is the second option. We want to scale with the reference. And so we're scaling with the reference rather than with a factor. All right. So the command for that, and again, commands are just actions that, again, we're asking the software to do for us. So I type scale. Okay, and notice that again, as you type any command or anything on the command line, it starts kind of filling the blank for you, right? So you start with S, C, and then it gives you all the commands that have the SC. And as you complete that command right there, and because there's multiple scales, right? You can scale by 1D, 2D, and scale. But the one that we want is the first one, right? The scale command. Okay, select objects to scale. Okay, that's where we actually want to select the sheet itself. Notice that it got yellow. You guys see that? Right, so it means that it's selected. Right, so press enter when done. I am done. There's 3 ways that I can tell Rhino that I'm done. It's enter, spacebar, or right click. They all work the same. Enter, the key enter, spacebar, the spacebar key, or your right click. Your right click on your mouse. Okay, so I'll do enter. Okay, right, so I already selected what I want to scale. Right, the next step, right, it says base point. Press enter for automatic. We have a base point, right? That's going to be our 0. Okay, so I click, and when I do this and I get asked, okay, so again, what's neat about this is, again, we can really zoom in there. You guys see that? And so I'm like there, right? So I get asked a lot, well, I mean, should I click from there or click from there? And what I always say, I just try to eye the center. I just try to eye the midpoint, right? And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, again, you have that 0 right there mark. But again, if you zoom in more, pues actually that line has a thickness. So anyway, it's not a big deal because it's just minimal, but I pick right there somewhere in the middle. Okay, so I click. Okay, now notice that nothing really happens, right? Except that, again, the command line changes, right? So now we can either scale factor it, right? We press 2, enter, 3, enter, 5, so that we make it 5 times bigger, 3 times bigger, whatever. Or we specify the first reference point, and that's what we want to do. So I hold down shift so that my cursor gets constrained. So again, if you look at my screen, right, I'm somewhere over here, but if I hold down shift, notice that it's constrained orthogonally. So I hold down shift and I scroll in there, and again, I somewhat eye the center of that 30 feet mark. Okay, now I have locked that 30 feet mark. Now there's one more thing that I need to specify, right? It says second reference point on my command line. There, that's where now we enter how much should that measure in real life, right? So I type 30, and my numbers are off, 30, right? And I just make sure and I introduce my feet sign right there, which is your column, right? So your 30 feet symbol, and now I press enter. And well, it might have done something. And I say might have done something because I'm not really sure. Now, how can I verify that this worked? I can measure it, right? So I can type distance one more time, enter or space bar. And again, I measure right from there. I hold down shift, right? And I measure, I measure from, again, and you can do it either from the 0 to the 30 or the 30 to the 0, but right, hold down shift and I click, right? And I look at my line right there. It says 29 feet, 11 and 5/8 inches. So it's pretty close. That's as close as it's probably gonna get. And that just has to do where I actually clicked, right? Maybe if I click now from there, right, to now over here, because I'm just eyeing it right now. So let's head to there. Wow, on the money. Distance 30 feet, right? 30 feet right there. Okay, guys. Why is this important? Well, this is actually super important, right, for us in terms of accuracy. Like, for example, right, so far you have been drawing your walls, you know, to a certain standard width. There was only so much that you could actually get in there, right? I mean, maybe 6 inches, and that's it, right? I mean, a foot maybe for some of you guys. But now I can actually type distance, and I can know, for example, I mean, how thick are actually walls, right? So again, hold down shift, and I say right there, and I see the distance is 5 inches and 7/8, which is almost 6 inches, which is something that I wouldn't be able to find out from your little paper scale that you were using. Then again, remember how you were trying to draw this? And Valeria, I think of your project, right? That you started in one corner, right? You keep drawing, and you get to a place like, caray, like I'm missing space, right? Things are not adding up. Because again, we've been eating inches away from here and there, that when you're drawing your plants, right, things don't add up anymore. Now this is going to be your guide, right? Now here you can type distance, and you can know the distance of everything, right? I mean, let's say in this case the pool, how big is this pool right here? And without rounding up, right, so it says that this pool is 13 feet 9 inches and a quarter, which don't really matter, right? I mean the quarter, but the 9 inches though, right? So it's not the same if I say like 13 9. I'll just do it 13, or I'll just do it 14, right? Because again, you're eating numbers or adding numbers that at some point things are not going to start adding up. As it is, it's still going to be kind of you know, a miracle how all things work. Okay, so that's the first part, guys. Let's do this. Let me pause this right here so that we can actually try it. So the next part, and you know, let's try to follow me again. If you get stuck or you have any questions, you know, I'll come back and help you once we're done with this. The next thing that we want to do from here, at least for this part of the exercise, is learn how to print this, right? So that we actually use it to build the model, right? And actually to double check your work, check your drawings, how off you'll be surprised, right? Like, oh wow, I'm off by like a lot, or I'm actually pretty good, right? So we're gonna use this, okay? So we want to print this, and the way that we want to print this is on a PDF. So we want to create a PDF from Rhino, okay? So the command for that would actually be print. So if we type print, enter, we get this this box right here, okay? And here, well, we're gonna be able to tell as well if our work is correct or not. Okay, guys, let's do this by order. All right, let's go down the list right here, because each of these titles, it's a tab, meaning that I can click on that tab and there's options, right, that drop down. Okay, let's start with destination. Okay, destination, as it says right there, it's a format. All right, so we want to create a Rhino PDF. which is going to be a PDF. It's just a PDF, but that's the Rhino version of it. Now, notice right here that you have size. The size of what? Of the paper, right? That's the size of the page. So notice that tabloid, it's our dimensions. We're going to do 11 by 17 right now. So we select that, and it might change, right? For me, it was already 11 by 17, but for you, it might change it, right? Did it change? Right? Your area, printing area got bigger. Landscape, of course, is okay. Resolution, that's high, but that's okay, 600. We'll leave it there. Output type, we'll do, it doesn't matter, right? Well, we'll do rest. No, just leave it vector. Just leave it vector for default. Rather leave it like that. And output color, we'll do black and white. I'm going to go ahead and hide that section right now and go to the next one. View and output scale, which this is a key part for us. Okay, so notice that the first part, it's what do we want to print, right? So don't for right now, don't mess. Well, this one's right here. It just prints that, right? Top, right, front. But again, you should be on the top, or maybe you're on the front. It doesn't matter. But whatever it is, don't change it. Right now, what we do want to set, it's our window. All right, so make sure that you select window. So you have three options, right? Viewport, extends, or window. Let's select window. Okay, so we have window, and now right next to it, notice that it says set. Click on set. Now there's a window right there. That's the viewport, right? That's where you're actually going to be able to print. Now notice that in my case, for example, I have like a little chunk of the building or the first floor, and then a little chunk of the other floor. Now you may need to move this window, okay? And in order to do that, you need to click where it says right here up top, right? Notice on the top right here on the command line, it says move, right? So again, I'm gonna do this again, okay? So on my print dialog box right here, I have window. I click on set. Before I do anything, right, I click up here where it says move, and then I can click once. It picks the sheet up, and then I can recenter the viewport. Now, how do I exit out of this? I right click again. And then the last part, which is really important for us, is to actually specify the scale. Right? So notice that I click on that drop down menu right there, and well, let's try 1/8. Right? What happens when you click on 1/8? We'll actually go through them. Right? What happens when you select different scales? No. Am I recording? I think so. All right. Before we actually generate the PDF, which should also be standard, right? I mean, you'll hear all these different stories, but that is true, right? I mean, some especially older school architects, I mean, you give them a drawing that it doesn't specify what scale that is, and they'll flip off. Right? I'm like, what scale is this? Right? So let's actually, just practice, and let's actually write what scale this is. Okay, because again, this is our graphical scale. Now let's specify what scale this is. So a quick introduction. These are our layers right here. So you should have your layers. If not, click on this cake slice, or right here on the top right. All right. So you have this. Again, if you place your cursor on top of it, it says layers. Okay. So I'm going to use a different layer. I'm going to use this layer 1, right? So I click adjacent to the little light bulb, and it should highlight, right? It should become active, right? So layer 1, active, right? Layer 1. I'm just flipping from one to another one. That layer 1 right there. Okay. So I'm gonna put some text on this, so that actually, I get a few things. Okay, guys. So I'm gonna type text, enter. Notice that this box comes up. Text, enter. And let's see, I'm gonna call this maybe ground floor plan. And then I'm gonna add right here scale. Scale is 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. So scale equals, or scale dot dot 1/8 1/8 quotation marks equals 1 column dash 0 quotation marks, and I can hit OK. And I'm going to place it on the lower left corner of the drawing itself. So again, I did text, enter. I type right here the name of the drawing, which was ground plan, and then right, and okay. And now when I go to print, notice that right there I have on the drawing itself what scale this is at, right? So that you know, right? You know what scale this is at, and anyone can know. So let's add that, right? So I can copy that. All right, so I type, oh, here, let's not complicate, just do it from the text box right there. So create 3 text boxes right there. Ground, so not, that was ground plan. The other one for me is first floor. So I create a text, first floor plan, again, scale 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. Right, and I added somewhere there. And last one for me, entrance level plan. And I do that. Notice that as long as they're somewhere, you know, relatively close to the plan itself, they're on the lower corner right there. And then, how bad would it be if we add the name of the building? Would it fit? Let's try it. All right, so let's do another box. So another text box, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna do right click. So for me it would be Lovell Health House. Now notice that I have the text height right here. So I'm gonna make this a little bit larger. Let's say maybe at 2, since it's a title right there. So maybe I can set this right there. Lovell Health House. And again, there's a command copy, right? Enter. And I can copy that object, enter, from there to there to, let's say, there. Right click and I exit. Okay. So let me walk. All right, so you should have something like this. Again, this is just something to get us by, okay? Definitely not the cleanest way of printing, or perhaps the best one for a finished product, but it works for our case. So again, let's make sure that the scale is 1/8, and you should have something like this, right? You have the title of the house, and again, somewhere in there, such as in this bottom left corner, right, it has the again, the title of the drawing and the scale. And now again, things like this can and probably will happen. Right? Again, if I go to set right here, pues I'm actually catching, right, this scale right there that belongs to this plan. So I can just either move it, right? I can move that so that's out of the way, or just live with it for right now, I guess. Right, so I'll do that, right? And I have that right there. Okay, so the next part we'll do actually a print. Now it won't actually print, but it will do a save, right? Because we're printing, right, to a PDF. So we're printing to a PDF, which you might do already from Word or any other document. So it's important that you learn to differentiate or name your drawings, right? So again, for example, this was the ground plan, and then this was 8 scale. Let's see if it likes to do this. The slash, I think it should be fine. Ground plan 8 scale, save. No, it doesn't like it. So we'll do it like this: 8 scale. Right, so 1/8 of an inch scale. We'll do save. Okay, try that for all your plants, right? First, second, or ground, first, second, or ground if that's all you have. Okay. And I think any questions on that technical part right there? Well, the last part I guess would be to do a file save as, so that you keep this this drawing with you, because again, this is your guideline, right? I mean, this is what's going to give you the distances for everything inside of your plan, right? So from here on, you can actually accurately or somewhat accurately measure everything. So I guess I just called it scaling drawings, or oh, we'll do this. Let's do this. Drawings 1-to-1 scale, and let's do some dash right there. 1-to-1 scale. And well, drawings is too broad. Maybe even Lovell Health House or your project. So the name of your project, drawings 1-to-1 scale. So that way it's again the 1-to-1 scale. And that's your holy file right there, right? Sacred file, because it holds all the answers. Okay, so I'll do a desktop right there, and I'll click save. And hopefully you have a thumb drive with you. If not, have I shared with you guys the drive that you guys have, the cloud thing that you guys have here? Oh, if you go to mypcc.edu, you log on. One second. And then you go to I don't know about that. What is it gonna force me to do? Okay. All right. This is silly. You go to my apps right here, and you stay signed in. Sure. You have as part of your tuition here in school, you have a cloud system, right? So if you go to OneDrive, something pops up. Well, anyway, you can drag the file right there, just like you do with Google Drive or Dropbox or I guess, whatever iPhones have, right? So it's just a cloud service right here. So you can just click and drag, right? And you upload, and so you can do many weird things. You can just save it on a drive, you can email it to yourself, or you can save it onto a cloud storage thing that you use. Okay, questions? No? Okay.